Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week, we got Ricky on from the MMG crew and Gary and Liz from Complete PT here in Liberty. Thank you guys for being on.
Thanks for having us.
So I feel like we had a whole podcast before the podcast. that was probably the one that shouldn't be aired. So now we can get into one that's a little bit more professional.
I don't know if it's going to help business per se.
Or it might. We don't know.
So how did you guys end up getting into... I always get shit from people for not introducing people correctly and going through the whole story. But let's start off where you guys came from and how you two ended up meeting. And then we'll start the story from there.
Okay.
Gary's going to say that I was undressing him with my eyes.
She did.
So, just to let you know.
He said that is exactly how it started.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Iowa. I came down here for PT school at Rockhurst, I think 13 or 14 years ago. And then I started working for a company right out of that I did my last rotation for, and worked there for 5 years. And then during that time, Liz came on and started working, and they had different locations. And so they had, at that time, I think they had Liberty, Independence, Lee Summit, and maybe some more. Not the point, but she was working at the Independence location, and I was working at the Liberty location. And so we had met during some staff meetings, and then every once in a while, if our census was low at Liberty, they would send us down to there or vice versa. And so we kind of started to know each other that way. And then they would always have a pretty big day at the K. And so we started talking there. And the rest is history, I guess you'd say. And so...
Is the story the same for you, Liz?
He snuck into my DMs. He was like...
I did.
He's the one that contacted me.
I did.
Nope, that's exactly, yeah.
So... where did you guys both go to PT school at?
I went to Rockhurst, yep.
And then I'm a PTA, so I finished my PTA at KCK and then my bachelor's at Park.
Gotcha. Because I don't know how the schooling works. What does the schooling look like for PT?
So PT, you have usually a 4-year degree, then you go into grad school for 3 years. And I think what we just talked is they've moved it up to a 2.5-year program now. And so it's become a doctorate. I think the first doctorate was like 2007, 2006 at Rockhurst, and I was 2010 graduate. So I'd been, 3 or 4 years in of the doctorate program there. And so, yeah. And then, you graduated 2011?
Yeah, 2011.
Yeah.
It's a little hazy. It's been a long time ago.
So what made you guys want to go into that profession?
Mine was, I grew up small town, liking sports. How could I stay next to sports, but also do something that was a little bit kind of serving people, helping people? And so I had a cousin that she did physical therapy. She was, 6 or 7 years older than me. So that kind of put it in my head. And then once it was in my head, I'm like, I think that's what I want to do. And I thought it was a good way to, again, help the people. But also in my mind, I was going to go sports. I was going to, help the athletes and keep them active for what they need to do.
Mine was like, I'm pretty sure I just always wanted to do healthcare. So like my grandma was a nurse. My other grandma started the nursing program, but like in her day, if you were married, you couldn't be a nurse. It was interesting. You couldn't like go to school. It was interesting. And then there was a therapist in Coffeyville, Kansas, who I shadowed, and I really enjoyed him, and I enjoyed what he did. So I kind of made that my mission, and here we are.
Very cool. So you guys both go out, you end up becoming PTs, you guys meet up. What does it look like launching a business? Where was that kind of point in time that you're like, you know what, let's go out and do this ourselves?
So the two companies I first worked for were both individuals that broke off and kind of did their own thing. So they kind of started little strip mall area, and started a one-man show. So I worked for one for a while. He blew up, got a little bit bigger. And then I moved to, he used to work at the same company, went work for him. And so when I went down there, I always had the mindset that, hey, I think I can do this myself. Like as we know in most entrepreneurs and business, it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about thinking, hey, I see what we're doing here. I think I can do it a little bit better, or I have something that I can offer, And I was telling during dinner here, this PT world, sometimes leveling up and kind of scaling up is hard to do. And so I knew that I needed probably to be my own boss if I wanted to continue in the profession and kind of keep myself motivated. And so when I went down to my second job, he kind of knew I had that burning desire. And so he was very nice and kind of let me see the books of how he did things and kind of walk me through, hey, this is how I kind of started out. This is what I did. And so it was always in the back of my mind, but we were obviously scared. And then what really kind of, I guess, tipped the scale was I'm now a marketplace fanatic where I'm always looking for something on marketplace. And
I understand that.
I'm the
It's
buyer.
so dumb.
I'm the buyer in our house too.
Oh
like
my
I'm
God.
the like the bourbons you do. I'm that guy too. I like to buy things.
Just stop
I like to work.
buying
I know.
stuff. You don't
You
need
can't
it.
resist a
You
good
can't.
deal.
And then,
Like,
but before then, it was Craigslist. And so I'd peruse Craigslist looking for equipment and like, hey, PT stuff. And I just came upon, I don't know if you guys were in when you guys were in our clinics the other day, Kaiser equipment. It's all pneumatic, run by air. It's very good for therapy because you can change the weights, very small increments. It's very fluid movement. It's just phenomenal equipment to have for a PT. And
It's very expensive
it's very
equipment.
in Boonville, there was an individual just giving it away. And so it was stupid not to buy it, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what I tell her. It was
Giving it
stupid
away.
not to buy it.
Giving
But I
it.
had found this full
every good deal is given away.
Exactly.
yeah, it was. So I found that, and so she came home, and she knew I was coming, but she came home, and our garage was just full of about these 6 pieces, and
And I'm
I'm
like,
like,
oh boy.
I think we've started our venture into possibly opening a clinic. And
So is this like 6.5 years ago?
this would be.
Oh no, this was a while before
opened
we
in
even
2017, so it would have been 2016. So
probably 2015.
2015,
Yeah.
2016, I found it.
Like this was one of those like we're still like, oh, maybe one. And opening up a business was never my dream. Like this is Gary's baby. I was just kind of the hype man. And honestly, I'm like, all right, whatever. We do it. Not really thinking we were ever going to do it. And then one day we joke, but like I legit went home and opened my garage. I'm like, oh boy. There's a lot of equipment right here.
But that's
We don't have
not-
a building. We don't have anything. We have no plan set in stone. Like, what are we doing here?
It's not just all talk at that point. Like there's equipment in your garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were gonna have a really nice home gym.
Yeah.
Or so yeah, that's how it got started.
Gary's like, check this out. I can change my weight by
Yeah.
0.01.
So much power up that I got with this. But yeah, no, I'm glad we found it because we were obviously always, and most people that do get into business, they drag their feet for a while, right? You just like, are we going to do this? We're going to do this. So finding that little, dare to be great kind of moment, buying that stuff was.
I'd say buying the equipment is probably what pushed us over the
Was
edge.
a pretty big blessing in
Yeah.
disguise. So thanks for that guy giving it away.
Yeah. He's watching it right now. He's like, I got that guy.
Yeah, because
Idiot.
anyone in sales never they don't lose money.
I got such a good
I got
deal.
such a good deal. Like everyone in sales never once like, I lost money again today. But
But like Liz was saying too, I think the importance of a lot of entrepreneurs that most of them miss is the hype man. That I think so many people are in relationships that somebody isn't there to say, hey, you can do this.
Yeah.
Because I make a lot of decisions a lot of times, and I'm not going to say they're always right, but Madison, my fiance, she's always in my corner, and she's like, you got it, like whatever it is. And she's like, because of her was what made me take the step to do what I've done. And like, she's the one that pushes me to do those things.
Am I what made you great? Is that what it is? Do I get all the credit for it?
sure, sounds
We're
good.
going to have to get you a hat for that. No, but it's like, there's a huge importance in that. And I think it's even cooler that you guys now like work together and that he had a dream of doing something. You're like, yeah, I'm right there.
Yeah. It was a
And-
great dream.
and-
Look where we are now.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that my family, your family, my brothers, anyone in our family was behind us too. I mean,
Which,
Or they all
I mean-
thought we were idiots.
or yeah,
like-
they could maybe they hid they were behind us, but at least
Oh
they
my
faked
God.
it until we made it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, oh my God, let's do it. Like,
and they'll always tell you that you can, but it's having that, like, there's a different approval, I feel like, from like your significant other. Like,
for sure.
you're with that person all the time. Like, if you guys sat there one night and she said, hey, you're absolutely not doing this,
Oh, he would still do it.
okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Happy Gary,
But-
happy life.
That's
Happy
our
Gary, happy
saying in our
life.
family is
Doesn't
happy
rhyme.
Gary, happy life.
Doesn't
It's-
rhyme as well as happy wife.
It doesn't,
happy
and
life,
it's so
but
annoying.
I tried happy Gary, marry or be married, but I'm trying to find out what goes. But
Keep finding it.
So you guys, 2017, you launch. What does it look like finding a space? What was that like day like that you're like, you know what, it's go time. We got this equipment that's been sitting in our house. Like,
Another pretty interesting story is, so yeah, we went and looked at some spaces. We looked up in Kearney because we're like, all right, we're going to be the who's who of Kearney because we wanted to kind of move up to Northland. We thought, hey, let's get ahead of Kearney before it gets too big, or gets bigger. And so we looked there. We looked at Liberty. Some of the doctors I had talked to, I thought, you guys are from Kearney. You know what? People will drive from Kearney to Liberty. People are not driving from Liberty to Kearney probably to go.
that is 100% fact. Most people from Liberty don't even know where Kearney's at.
Yes.
They think you're at the Iowa border.
It's Narnia up there.
Yeah.
And so we looked at this one property in Liberty where we're at now, and we saw it, and we're like, oh, this is perfect. The way they had it set up, like we wouldn't have to do too much, but just like before we opened up, we drug our feet. We're like, I don't know. Went back and forth, talked about it, and then about a month went by, and I reached back out to her and I said, hey, can we look at that spot one more time? And she goes, well, it's off the market now. Someone took it. I'm like, God. She's like, well, we'll find you something. So we were kind of pretty down because like, God, that's the more we thought about it. Like that was the spot. Windows like we have, more open space. And so we sat and I think looked at another one or two places. Nothing really tripped our trigger. And all of a sudden she reached back out and said, hey, landlord doesn't want to rent to them. What do you think? And we're like, is this another sign? It was like,
That's
the spot that we wanted is now getting given back to us. And so we went back, looked at it, and we're like,
Same night, we were like,
Yeah.
this is like, we
Let's
see a
put-
clinic here, we see
Let's
us
put-
being here, and
let's put pen to paper.
Yeah.
And we kind of said, yeah. So it was kind of interesting that it wasn't there. We drug our feet, but then it came back to us. And so it was kind of like that. Yeah, we should probably do this spot. So
It's crazy how many things in business, like if you keep your eyes open, and I'm talking wide open, that just the right things happen at the right time, exactly how they're supposed to, that the world's a pretty crazy place. And I also think that in business, as you progress, you start making moves quicker. And I feel like that makes you a better business owner. I think in early days, what hinders entrepreneurs the most is slow movement, that they think about things, and you look at office space, you look at all these different things that like I used to think so much about, that now I'm like, what's the worst case if I do make a bad decision like on this? Like you adapt, you change, you fix it. Like, but it's a lot of times those really quick decisions that your gut feeling that tells you like, hey, this is right. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's what I need to do. And it's like, in the beginning, I always want to try to go against that. And then once I actually started just like, hey, when I have that gut feeling on whatever it is, just ride, go for it.
I agree.
And it makes a huge difference quickly. So you guys get the space. It's just the two of you guys starting it.
it's just Gary.
So it's just me at first. And so
I was still doing home health
Yep.
because
So
we
Liz
needed.
had a really pretty good job home health gig where she can make her own hours for PTA, making pretty good money for the company she did. And then, as we all know, we talked about that lovely insurance. You can't get insurance at that time self-employed, and you couldn't even get insurance if you were in Missouri at that time if you were a married
If
couple
a husband
of two,
and wife, yeah.
married couple of two. And so we had to play the pros and cons, like what we want to do with it. And so she kept her job. I kind of opened the place up and was a one-man shop. And so we did that for right at a year and a half
Mm-hmm.
until I got to the point where I'm like, I just can't do this. And she was still doing her job, coming in the afternoon. We backload the schedule or front load it so she could help in the morning for a patient or two. Then I would see them in the day. And then she would come because in the PT world, people are coming before work and then they're going to come after work. Obviously, our clientele now can come throughout the day a little bit because we see some totals and stuff. But so she was helping that until we got to that point where like, hey, and we still fought with if we were going to work together because we were like, I don't know, like it's a lot. But when we kind of put pen to paper again about, doing the things we want to do, if I want to be off, you want to be off, it just makes sense to be working together because, you don't have to go ask someone else to take this Friday off. We just got to do it ourselves. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it was 2019, I think she came on. right? Or was it 2018? Was it a year?
No, it was 19 because we had Augie already. It was that summer of
19, I thought.
yeah.
Yep. So she came on board in 2019, and then I think our next hire was 2020.
Logan was 2020. Yeah.
2020.
So when you guys, those first 3 years, what would you say the hardest part about the business model was?
We had a lot going on in that because we opened a clinic in August and I found out I was pregnant in September with our first child.
Well, why wouldn't it work like that?
Yeah.
You know?
Surprise!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then it was still a one-man shop when I gave birth to Augie. So that in itself, yeah.
I feel like Gary had a lot more room for activities when it was
Yeah.
just him there.
For sure.
He did.
For sure.
He was probably running wind sprints.
Well,
back and
he
forth
was
in there.
also probably just looking on Marketplace, like, what
Yeah,
can I
trying to
buy?
find
Just the
some
stupidest stuff
Some stuff to add to
that
it.
I don't need.
No.
Hey, as long as you're buying it and you're selling it, you flip stuff on there all day and make
This
some
is
serious
true.
money.
No, the hardest part for our profession in total is in Missouri, and we can talk about this a little bit up until or
Next week.
next week. It's all referral based, so you have to have some ins with some doctors, ins with some people that you mostly know you do good work or trust you with their care. And so our hardest part was we had some, but we obviously knew to grow or to continue to bring patients in, I had to get more. And so what you guys do marketing, is the worst in my mind to do marketing. I hate it. I just can't stand it because, you go up to that front desk and you meet the gatekeeper of, oh, they're really busy today. I'm like, all right, well,
And they look like they hate me. So I'm like, all right, see ya.
yeah. It looks
Have a good
they're
day.
just
I
not
saw you
excited,
coming a
like,
mile
Yeah.
away.
yes, they did. They've already got their mind made up.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
get it too, like, because we have people come in our clinic, but I at least try to meet them and just say, hey, I get it. Yeah, you got a job too. You're trying to sell me something, or you're trying to offer me a service. I'll at least listen to it every once in a while. But in our case, when it comes to doctors, they have that gatekeeper because they're doing some
And
other
rightfully
stuff.
so.
Yeah,
I was actually about that was going to lead me into like, what does it look like? Because I know that style of, I don't know if I want to call it marketing, but like it's almost door-to-door sales.
yeah. It's cold. It's cold calls. Like
Yeah.
you're basically just
And I'm not good at
showing
it.
up and you got some cookies or
Yeah.
I tried to do like the I kind of got that farm background, small town, so I did a lot of handwritten. So I thought maybe if someone sees I took the time to write hand and I did something out of the norm,
I
it'd be
still do
different.
handwritten
I
letters
know.
all the time.
I'd say
I
was-
really appreciated that.
you
I
have
love
no
it.
idea- You
I
have
really love
You have
that.
no idea what that meant when
Yeah.
I said, I'm like, I love the handwritten letters like that. And so when I did the same thing, I used to, after my first patient would come in, we would always write them a handwritten letter saying thank you, and we'd give them like a $5 gift card to that coffee shop right next to us. We did that
Yep.
at first. And that's how I wanted to do business. So more small town, more family feel. And I think you guys got that when you come into our clinic.
Yeah.
Like we want that.
That was definitely something that we are going to talk about on here is like the culture that you have built. And it's something that it's rare to see in businesses that you just walk in, there's like something's different there. It's very greeting to every single person that walks in. And it's like, there's certain companies that we'll go into and like when we have cameras and everything, it's like, we're telling you that like in some of these bigger companies, it's like ants, everyone's gone.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see how the patients that are in there, your staff in there, one of our first meetings, we come in, everyone's wearing Hawaiian shirts. I'm like, bro, I was like, they're like, we do Hawaiian shirt Fridays. I'm like,
Aloha Friday.
I tried to implement that, just not everyone bought Hawaiian shirts. But it's just like that culture. I think that is so important, and holding to those small things that you do. And I think a lot of times, like as an entrepreneur, you'll figure out these things that get you from point A to point B, that get you from point B to point C. And then all of a sudden C to D is a completely different playing field that you're on. And then you start taking away those little things. That the handwritten letters is something I got back into doing because that's what made me great in the car business.
Mm-hmm.
People came in all the time. And then there's people that I know that are great in business, and it's because they do those small things like that. Then I'm sitting there, I'm like, why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
I was like, it's stuff that we know that we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
For sure. We just had that meeting a couple weeks ago with our staff. Like, I want to get back to basics again because as you grow, you start to see lose a little bit of insight of what got you there.
A little bit of
Yeah.
growing pains as you
And
bring
so-
on.
And like you said,
new individuals
luckily you
and-
have that, ability to, look in a little bit and say, all right, man, we got away from what we were doing this way. Let's get back to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the handwritten letters, we also tell every one of our patients, these phones forward over to my phone every night. So you call us anytime you need to, because when you're dealing with someone's injury, it's not just the injury, obviously. It's very mentally taxing on them too.
100%.
Because you're taking away possibly their ability to walk. They're relying on someone to drive them to, therapy for a while there. So you're taking away a lot of things that psychologically you're in pain. And so there are so many factors that come in from a psychological standpoint when it comes to PT, that if you can alleviate some of those stressors and some of those, God, I think that's what's really helped us, because my wife is phenomenal at it. She's like, here's my cell phone. And she's genuine. Like, I want you to call us if you need them. I always say, I'm going to tend to my family first, but I promise you I'll get back to you like right away when I can, because, like you said, that personal touch goes so much farther than, we have these shiny, we talked about our nice equipment, but like shiny equipment only gets you so far, especially I say in the Midwest. The Midwest is still, I still believe it's still family values and some of that stuff. And
I always have the conversation with everyone is like, if you're selling a product, if you're selling a service, whatever it is, people buy from people. And that is dominantly who someone wants to work with. I talk about it all the time on the vehicles I buy. I buy all of them from one guy. I have never negotiated with him. And when I send people his way, I will tell them, I will help you with a car deal and I'll get you the best car deal you've ever had. But if you try to negotiate with him, I'll never help you again. But he gives fair deals and he does everything to the books. And it's like, they're the smoothest, easiest car deal that you're ever going to have. And he will always help you out after the deal.
Yeah.
And that's what I did when I was in the business. And I still brokered 10 plus car deals every month from people that reach out to me that I helped when I was in the car business. But that's what building a network of people that buy from people, that you can tell when you go in there. If I went in and I saw Luke, like, he was somebody that just stood out to me a lot when I came in the first time.
Logan,
Yeah, or Logan.
yeah, he stood out to you so much. You remember his name?
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
I knew it started with an L. But
I know. Just
Ricky, can you cut that and fix that for me?
I like to be a dick sometimes. I
Logan.
really-
Okay. But it's
I just like how Dre.
Dre pipes in from the peanut gallery over there. But it's like his demeanor with people in there is impressive.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
If there are times when I will sit in our office and Logan will be in an evaluation in the back room, and I'll just sit and listen to him talk to people. It's impressive.
Yeah.
People can learn from him. That guy, he just makes you feel like he cares. And he does. He genuinely cares. But he is so good at educating people, and he is so good at just bringing you in. We're doing this together. Yeah. We will figure this out. He's
got that right dose of
absolutely.
compassionship, but then also knowledge.
Yeah.
And he's just a really good therapist.
And he uses it.
Really
The way he uses it is just definitely to his advantage.
What really stinks, and this is a little bit offshoot from our profession, we talk about people helping people, and everything has come this way in the world of analytics and metrics. The healthcare is not missing that either. And it's all metrics now. And so us as a small business in our one shop, we're trying to fight that, because we don't have productivity for our therapists. We don't say, you need to see this many patients, make this much money for us. We want you to do a good work, and we're hoping that business will follow. Unfortunately, the metrics in healthcare is all right, you need to get this many patients in. You need to see them it was down to the T of 43 minutes. This is the perfect time that you can get another patient in 45 minutes. And what happens is your employees are frantic because they're trying to meet this productivity that they can't meet. Your patients obviously pick up on that you might not care as much because you're trying to worry about.
Or looking at the clock, oh my God, I gotta go.
You gotta go now because we gotta get some more money in here.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we just keep fighting that battle of trying to kind of buck the trend of being metric based or analytic based, where you got to make this much money or this much per patient. And I think that's what really helped us is
just being patient centered.
Go be a PT. We'll figure out stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have, when it comes to patient charging and stuff, is that a flexible number, or is that all PTs are split this? I don't.
So it depends on your insurance. So insurance is some insurances, so Cigna and United Healthcare are flat rates. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Medicare, Humana, Aetna, they're more of
It's
the
based-
allowable.
It's based on time too.
And
Yeah.
time, yeah,
Spend a little
especially
more time with them. You're
yeah.
gonna get a little lunch or
unless it's the patients with the fix, unless
Yeah.
just the insurance with the fixed rates. You can spend 5 minutes or 7 hours with them. They'll say, nope, we're giving you this amount, and that's what you get.
Because I was wondering on like, I look at everything in life as in any business of anything, I look at selling value. Like money side, like you put that aside, people buy on value.
I agree.
And once again, I'll bring it back to the car business that it's a business that's so, a business field that's so large that sometimes they can't even like understand what they're looking at. Like if you look at a Chevy dealership, how many Chevy 1500s are across Kansas City that you can go buy the same truck at how many different dealerships? And they still advertise the cars. They advertise the same cars. And when GM comes out with their incentives, everyone gets the same ones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, $1,500 off on a new Chevy 1500. So they just advertise that out across every single dealership. So their marketing employee comes out the exact same across every single store. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, I don't know why he's getting more people than me. And I'm like, you guys really can't understand like selling people here. Can
Yeah.
you? And it's like, and selling on value of why that person's going there. What does their purchase look like after they buy the car?
Yeah.
Where are you at?
Well, and I think that's
It's-
also like if you go, so like with us, we're independently owned. We're not affiliated with any hospital, any larger corporation. And I will definitely tell you that from personal experience and from owning our own business now, like you're going to get a very different feeling. And that value is going to for sure come in those small businesses.
Oh, for sure.
Because if you go to a larger corporation, it's productivity driven. You have to see so many patients. You have to have so many units, and it's, in my personal opinion, you truly lose why you're even treating the patient. You know, the patient's coming here for a reason. They're in pain, they're not moving well, whatever it may be. But that company is so focused on, forget why they're actually here. We have to see so many patients per day.
Yeah.
And you just lose that aspect of helping people. And when you're in healthcare, I firmly believe that you initially go in because you want to help people, you know?
And the crazy thing is, like, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. The thing I hate the most is like hospitals and like healthcare space. Like, because I feel like when somebody enters that, something's wrong with someone.
Oh, yeah.
To where it's like all growing up, like I broke a lot of bones racing motorcycles, things like that. I absolutely hate a hospital more than any place on the planet. And it's like
PTSD.
it is. It's just like something that like I don't like the environment. I don't like the feel of it. Like everyone there has something wrong with them. Everyone there is in pain. Like, and it's I don't
Most
find
of the time when you are going to the hospital, you're not going there because you're
like, hey,
because something's going good.
you know what? I'm having a great day. Let's go stop by the
I'm gonna
hospital.
get great food at the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Let's check that out real quick.
So it's just like that environment has been something that's so like uninviting that when we came in the first time to film, I was like, well, I kind of want to get PT. Like, like my hip kind of hurts. Like, but it's like,
that
one
is
one of our biggest, like, when we know we've really got through a patient, or like, I don't know, got through them, I guess, but like felt like, God, what's the word I'm looking for? Is
I
when a
don't know.
patient comes back to us after they've been healed. They come in that door. It could be 2 or 3 months down the road.
Oh,
We
yeah.
haven't talked to them in 2 or 3 months. They come busting through that door and they're like, they want to hug right away. And they're like, what's up? And like, could we tell everyone when they leave, like, oh, come on in. Whenever you need to, whatever you need. If you had a ache, a pain, you're part of our family now. Stop in when you want to. And so one of the biggest smiles my face gets is when I see someone I haven't seen for a while come in that door. And I'm like, that's like my biggest sense of gratitude. Like, oh man, it just makes me feel so good that they took time out of their day. They didn't need to see us for anything. It's usually when they're not hurt again. And they took time out of their day to come just say hi, like, how the kids doing? How's Logan doing? You know, is he married now? How's
Yeah.
Garrett doing? Asking about everyone. And so that really makes me feel good.
and the other thing that's pretty cool to watch is a lot of times if Logan has somebody come in, it's like he'd be the only one dealing with them. You guys are all like interacting as a group the whole time, and it was like working just perfectly that like this person knows like everyone that works here. And I'm like, and it's something I've tried to like cultivate with our company is I don't want somebody to see someone they're like, who's that guy?
yeah.
That's
That's one of
It's
our
like-
biggest things is that and in our staff meetings, like we want every patient, we want every single therapist, including our receptionist, when that patient comes in the door, saying the patient's name, how you doing, asking them questions. And then throughout treatment, I'm very nosy. So like if somebody's having a conversation and I hear something like, oh, what are you guys talking about? So like I
Oh my
instantly,
God, do you have butter on your banana
exactly,
bread?
yeah. Stupid.
What
Just
side do you,
re-
do you shuffle
just-
left-handed or right?
Yeah. And then the entire clinic just like gets together.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just, and it's
And then
probably
we
like,
start yelling out the questions.
Oh,
to
it's
everyone,
so fine.
And then we just judge them right away. Like, that's not right. That's not right. No.
what you just said was wrong. That's probably one of the best parts is when we all just like get on those tangents and every patient just starts to give their opinion, and it's pretty fun then.
But yeah, and you're standing like across it and you're watching it. Everyone's like doing it. Somebody's doing a stretch. Somebody's like jumping on a Bosu ball. Someone's like doing something else. And everyone's like piping in across the whole entire place.
You gotta stop to yell across the room really quick, then get back to doing your exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like going back to that a little bit, patients are going to feel more comfortable with someone that they feel, a connection with. So that's what we want to make sure that if by happen chance Liz is off that day and her patient that she's got really doesn't feel uncomfortable with me, because when you're dealing with someone's injury that sometimes can be very, invasive into their emotions, invasive into what you're working on, you want to make sure that nothing skips a beat when they happen to have that. And so what happens in the PT space is a lot of times we'll get patients from other places that have had really bad experiences. And we don't like to hear that. Obviously, I like it that they made it to us and we can change that perception, but I never like to hear someone had a bad experience at a PT. Now, places I worked for, they would jump on that bandwagon saying, oh yeah, because they don't know what they're doing, or, they'd kind of make them feel bad. I'm like, you know what? You had a bad experience, and I sometimes will give them excuses like, hey, their productivity based or something went wrong, but, and one of those things where it's like, well, I got passed around from one to another and they didn't know what I was doing. And so when we opened our place up, we understand that there's going to be some times where we might see someone else. And so we want to make sure that, hey, Liz, this is patient A. Patient A is here for this. Patient A likes this, likes that. We want to make sure everyone knows each other so that we can get rid of that unfamiliarness. And so when they want to and they come back, like, oh, I'm fine with Liz then. I'm fine with whatever. And it's not hard to do. You just got to take that extra step where you introduce people, where you make them say hi to the other person instead of just like you're doing your own thing. And I think what happens at those other clinics, and again, is it just becomes so, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to get my documentation done, and they lose some of that feel of like these patients are here because they're scared, they hurt, they're worried about if they're going to get better, if they're not going to get better, and so I think that's one of the things that we've strived to do at our clinic is just get rid of some of that anxiety that comes with any injury or walking into a hospital or walking into some place.
Do you think that with scalability, because how many people are you at currently right now, staff-wise?
There's 5 full-time, and then there's 2 kind of part-times and a PRN. So I think there's 8 of us. Is that right? Is that math?
I think it's 7.
So as you scale up, do you think that it's going to become a large objection in front of you to figure out how to hold that kind of mentality and culture? And
No. I don't feel like it's going to be, because I feel like
a
that's...
little bit, of course.
Because I think of like...
You're always dealing with new personalities, and you just got to make sure that clicks, obviously.
Oh, but I was just talking about like on our end. Like that's something when I don't know if this is the right thing to say or not, but like when we hire somebody, like you'll learn how to PT. Like I promise you will. But like the most important thing to us is that when a patient comes in, they know they are going to be taken care of. And you can
talk to them. Like
yes.
That interpersonal
so it's like
personal
yes.
skills have got to be there. I can teach you how to be a really good, and you've learned your stuff at PT
right.
school that you're going to get some of those, and I will help you. I've been a PT for 13 years. Logan's been 3, and like we will help you hone those skills in
right.
that you need to. But like if you don't have those personal skills, we're probably going to push you right away to the side of not going to hire you.
Yeah, like that is probably single-handedly, that right there is probably the most important thing to us. Like you have to be able to talk to people, but you also have to genuinely care. So
people will see fake.
So I'm going to say that it's it factor, and I'm a firm believer in it factor being something. There's certain people you run into life that just have it factor. Tyler Thorne, for instance, I'm going to say that he was somebody that referred you guys, or referred us to you guys. He's somebody that has loads of it factor.
yeah.
Like he just is. Like
Yeah.
And anybody that knows him will attest to that.
Oh, for sure.
And it's like when I came in, fun fact, Moss Market Group, I've never looked at a resume.
I don't even ask for them.
I don't either. I don't care to get one. I have people when they come in, it's like they sit down within 5 minutes. I know if that's the person or not. I don't even care if you went to school for marketing. And it's like when Ricky and Lauren came on, like Lauren was freaking out because she didn't know marketing. I go, you're a hard worker and you have it factor. I'll teach you how to market.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's, you look at those things that I'll put a hard worker up against, I wasn't the smartest guy in school, but it was like, I did way more than after school. Look at where I've put myself compared to all these guys that were the 4.0 students that were standing side by side with me. Like, they're not in the same league.
Yeah.
But it's like, I went after the people skills. I went after taking care of people, understanding how people run and operate, understanding like the mind. Like, and it's when you have those people sit there, like very rarely do I walk into a company, I'm like, they got a lot of it factor in here.
Our last hire, and if she's listening, Mackenzie, she made fun of us last time our receptionist had a baby shower at Expo Facto. Doesn't mean anything, but we were there sitting, and she was like talking about how she found us. And so we had a Facebook post, hey, looking for a part-time therapist. And on there, I didn't say send your resume to this. I said email me. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Email. And she's like, I just thought it was so stupid. I don't mean to talk like that. She's like, I thought
Mackenzie sounds exactly like that, by the way.
She's like, I just thought it was so dumb that I had to email you personally and like, Indeed, I'm supposed to upload this and send it to them. I'm like, I don't want it to be like that. I don't want it just to be generated because, you sent me this resume that you're obviously going to put your good things on there.
Yeah.
I've had people send me resumes.
References blow my mind. Blow my mind. Like, I need a list of references. Okay, I'll give you 5 people that like me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think in references, you actually can't say anything bad about somebody legally, right?
Yeah. Well, you can. You can say what you know.
I'm pretty sure as a reference is that like you
You
can't.
sure that's a thing?
I don't think.
I'm pretty sure it
That
is.
sounds made up.
Dre, what are you doing over there? Are you Googling it? Google it.
Yeah, what's up, Peanut Gallery?
Look it
How
up.
about you give us some facts, bud?
Do something over there. Okay.
You provide any kind of information you want for them, but like
Maybe somebody was lying to me to get a good reference.
It's prior employers can't say anything negative about them.
Prior employers.
So who was right?
well,
Liz.
it's different.
You're 50-50.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
50-50.
I'm like-
We're not giving.
What if you put me as a reference?
Yes.
I'm not a prior employer,
Yeah.
so I can say whatever I want.
Well, she's
True.
not very smart.
I was right though. I was correct.
Hey,
That is not.
only thing I'm going to tell you, she's right 50% of the time.
Like that was. I'll give you 30% right on that one.
I deserve more than 30.
Are you going to put your previous employer on the reference?
A medicist? Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
So who's dumb now?
But I think that's a huge thing in business that a lot of people discount is hiring just straight off of resumes. I've had some very, very, very decorated people come my way that I've looked at resumes. I'm like, God dang.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Smart.
and then somebody comes in and they meet us at the office, and then we'll walk out of a meeting and Ricky or Logan or somebody will look at me and they're like, we don't have to work with that guy. Do we? I'm like, hell no, we ain't working with that.
Yeah.
That's
But
why,
it's-
like, when we hire, we always have them
come
come
in
to
for
the
half a
clinic
day,
first, and we're
spend
like,
some
just
time
kind
with
of
us.
come see if we're even a fit for you, because we're a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
we
we are a lot to handle. You talk to any patient, any staff, like Liz and Gary together all day. Whew, oh boy, especially if we're on one.
Yeah.
If he annoyed me in the morning or something like that, like we're going into the clinic hot, and it's staying that way.
There's one rule in our house. I can't be a dick until 10.
Hmm.
That's the rule in our house.
He never abides
I
by
never
that.
make
I was going to say, I don't feel like he listens.
6:30 is usually about.
Oh,
like
it
it's
just
over.
drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I'm like, it is. Do you look at the clock right now? See
What
time
would you
it
say
is.
one of the hardest things about working together is?
I would say one of the hardest things that we've gotten better at it is, yes, we work together. Yes, we're paired together. But that work obviously requires us to also, assess each other. Hey, and so sometimes when I say, like, Liz, I saw you doing this instead of being, like sometimes you're having a bad day, like someone today, like you be in a better mood today. I'm like, all right. And so
I said that. To
I
him.
need to be told to be in a better mood. So I could take that personally, or I could remember, hey, I'm in a place of business. My attitude is going to be reflected to
You brought
my,
Nat with you.
I
Yeah,
say that.
give me that.
My attitude is going to be reflected to my patients. And so she was, even though she's my wife and she said, hey, change your attitude, I could take it and I could react, or I could act and be like, hey, I need to buck up because I'm also working with patients. So yes, I should be in a better mood. So sometimes that feedback to each other is a fine line of like, I hope she takes this well. I hope she takes this well. I hope she takes this well.
From experience, that can certainly be tough.
Yeah, it is. It's not easy sometimes because you get to go home with
Yeah, and
each
it goes both ways too.
Yeah. And
It's also one of those things at the end of the day, like we may get like, there are times I'm like, Jesus, just get out of my face. Like, why did you tell me that? But then at the end of the day, I can look back and be like, all right.
I have to tell Ricky and Lauren, I'm
Fine.
like, stop looking at each other like that. Like, don't look at each other like that in the office place.
Yeah.
Like, this is uncomfortable for everyone else.
I this morning, I think you were talking about those wins. One thing that gets me in trouble is sometimes I can be very critical of like, hey, things how I want things done, and I didn't see it that way. And sometimes I've been told that I don't always give the wins. Like, hey, Liz, you did great today at this. Thanks for doing this. And sometimes we just take for granted that we're doing this together to build our company. But she deserves recognition when she does some badass stuff, and
Yeah.
I deserve some recognition when I do some badass stuff.
Yeah, Gary
Yeah.
deserves some
Gary
recognition.
always gets recognition. Like, did you not hear Happy Gary, Happy Life? Like, that is a real thing, guys.
And I don't work with, I feel like that whole side of the table's on one side of the fence, I'm on the other side because I don't work in the same line of business as my fiance.
Mm-hmm.
But we both are so invested. Like, she owns her own company, I own my own company,
Yeah.
to where it's like we are each other's biggest critic. Like, when I first started the podcast, the first podcast is rough, like rough. And she came the next day. She had a sheet after she listened to it of all of her critiques.
Good for her.
I was getting sheets after every podcast, and I was like, at first, I was like, so pissed. I was like,
Why
what?
are you so mean to me?
I was like, you were so mean. I was like, how is your podcast?
Yeah.
I was like,
The
and
non-existent one.
yeah. And after like reading over those, I'm like, okay, that's pretty true. I'm like, and then I listened to it. I'm like, oh, that was definitely true. But you start going over those things that you have to be able to take those critiques. And she wasn't doing it from a bad spot. She was doing it from a spot of wanting me to be the best at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I do the same thing with her. And a lot of times it's at that point where when we're discussing it, it's not looked at. It's looked at more of like coming at them directly.
Yeah.
And then she'll afterwards, like, now we talk a lot of times on, she'll come to me. She goes, what do you think I should do when I have this listing? Like XYZ, like I've ended up in this position. Like, what do I need to do? And now we can like productively have those conversations.
Oh, absolutely. That's
And-
yeah. That's just a good relationship anyways, whether it's business or whether it's husband and wife significant. And that's something I feel like Gary and I have always been pretty good about doing. Like we're
pretty transparent with each other.
we are very transparent.
Pretty-
But we also, especially everything we said we're never going to do, we do. We said we would never work together, never own a business together, and then here we are 6 years in. But it's also something like as we have, especially when we started working together, like we definitely had a little bit of an uphill battle of learning how to do that. But then now truly understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses. And it's okay to acknowledge your weakness. Like in my personal opinion, that is a strength of yours. If you can
100%.
acknowledge a weakness, I think that's great. And both of us we're just very different. He is very good at some things and I am not good at those things. And so we use that to our advantage and it really
That's
works
being
out.
good in business in general.
Yeah.
And there's too many business owners, business people, employees, people that think they're great at everything are
Oh,
the
yeah.
worst employees.
Yeah.
I tell people
Like-
I'd rather be great at a little than good at a lot. Or,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mediocre at a lot, maybe.
Peter, great at a little.
You sound smart.
Good at a lot. Yeah. I think it's
But it's like
Yeah.
there's certain things in the
Honestly,
beginning
don't
of a company that I tried to do all
It's a
of.
gnat.
I think Liz brought it.
I did not.
but-
what kind of place you got going on?
I know.
Jeez.
It's kind of jank.
It's right
but,
there.
But like when we first started, I was like, I'm great at content. I'm like, I'm the content guy. And when I hired Ricky,
And then your wife gave you a sheet of you're not
yeah.
gonna.
So when Ricky started, funny thing is like I ran a marketing company and did content, and anybody that knows anything about cameras will like laugh at me for this. But until Ricky started, I didn't know how to use a camera outside of auto. Like,
That's why they made it.
That's
Autos
true.
are just there.
and it was like Ricky was like looking at these videos and he's like, bro, the first time we went to film,
Why
I was
are
like,
you
you get to
doing
come film with me
this?
today. Like, you just started. I was like, come on. He's like, do you have your camera in auto? I was like, yeah.
Judging you.
And like hardcore.
Yeah,
I was like, this dude's flirting a fine line. And I'm like, and he's like, I'm like, I don't know what all these numbers around the outside of my
I
camera
hit one
mean.
and I'm done.
I put it on the A and it's like almost perfect every time.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
Pretty simple game.
Yeah.
I win every time.
And I was sitting there, I was like, I don't know why my film doesn't look like the other people.
How do you know I have so many buttons?
Yeah,
What am
and
I
I'm like,
supposed to do with these?
but what I spent time on all the time was learning how to actually like the ad side of marketing and like how social platforms work. Like that's what I spent all my time on. I never spent additional time learning how cameras worked or things like that. I just had video that no one else had. And in the beginning, I was winning with
Fuzzy video.
shitty ass video. Like it wasn't fuzzy; it was just shitty. Like, and anyone in the content space was like, "This dude's a joke," but no one else had partnered it with the marketing to where it was just something that was new. And once Ricky started, I was like, "Oh, he is way better at this than me." I was like, "You just run with it, dude."
Yeah.
I'm like, "You take it." Like,
That's one thing I was actually talking to a patient about this morning about you guys. I'm like, the thing that seems really cool is that obviously you're a business, you're a growing business, but I'm like, everybody kind of has their thing that they're good at and that's what they focus on instead of, all right, you have maybe this entire client and you have to do all of it for this client versus here's the deal. We're all going to have these clients, but this is what I focus on. This is what you focus on. That's what you like. I think that's pretty cool.
I feel like it's like an assembly line kind of like
Yeah.
process, and then it lets people be experts in their position.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I still really enjoy getting on a camera, and I'm way better now on a camera than I was when
He's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
I have. But it's still something that I feel like it gets to unlock a creative side that I know I have. I just didn't always know how to use it correctly. And I am so like data driven in what we do and like the sales side and like customer acquisition and how we take care of people that sometimes like going and filming is just like a release for me.
Yeah.
That's like, I can go do something different for a couple hours. Like
Mm-hmm.
get on camera, it kind of just unlocks myself.
Yeah.
And I also like being out at accounts. Like it's a lot of joy for me. There's sometimes I'll go film it. That's why Rick, most time you won't catch me filming somewhere by myself. Because afterwards we get done, I'm like, oh, Dane's film's not worth shit. Good thing Ricky was out there
Let's go back
filming. But
Dane was on A again.
But that's the part of it I like is everyone is great at what they do, and I let them be good at what they're good at. And I think too many business owners try to be just the best at everything. That I tell them all the time. When I'm 40 years old and
Ouch.
I'm 29 right now.
Ouch.
I
That one
got
kind of hit right there.
Yeah.
I just turned 40.
When I'm ancient
When
and
I'm
40
so
years
old.
old,
when I'm super old and I'm
looking
40.
back on my long life to this point.
So
How
my
do you
deal is like
feel?
I have a
Well,
path. I have a path to
Good
40,
podcast.
and
I'm out of here.
my path to 40 is I hope when I'm there, people just say that like he was great at hiring. Like that's what I like, and building a culture. Like if I can be known for those things, everything else will come with it.
Yeah.
That's all I need to be good at, and it's bringing the right people to the table. And
That's kind of shifted my mindset is like, because in the PT world and in medical world, you obviously make a name for yourself by doing right by patients, by getting good results from the doctors. And so I obviously had some doctors that I built some really good relationships strong. They trust me what I do with their patients, because anyone that's ever worked with a doctor will know, like, especially a surgeon, like they don't want what they did to get screwed up by some incompetent. And so it takes a lot of confidence, into that person. So that, hey, go to Gary. And so obviously I built that reputation. It's hard a little bit to step away because patients go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, I want you to go see Gary. And the best thing I've done is hired some of the greatest, my wife is a phenomenal therapist. Logan, like we talked about, is great. Ben, Jordan, we had Garrett before then, Holly, Mackenzie,
Leanne.
They're just,
players.
they make it easy for me. And so I might have to still do that in, introduction. Like, hey, I'm Gary, but I promise you one of my staff is going to take great care of you. And so I'm kind of that liaison between, I know you were coming to see me, but I promise you, I'm right here behind the scenes if anything comes up. But just like you said, my job is to, when leave here, I want them to come to complete PT, not to come see Gary all the time.
I feel like that's the coolest thing that you can see happen in a business is when you see the business outgrow you.
Yeah.
That when I started Moss Marketing Group, it was me. The accounts we got, people just knew me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like the company has started to outgrow myself, that people are like, oh, you're with MMG. They don't know who I am, but they know MMG. I was
Yeah.
like,
I think that's great.
I think it's the coolest thing ever. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Like,
Yeah.
it should be bigger than me.
The first time it's a little bit of a hit though. You're like, oh,
No, it was like, that was like the first time that it ever, I kind of hit home that I was like, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And it's,
well, it seems that a lot of people forgot that I was a one-man show, because now when they come, they think the boss is this one right here.
she did, we posted a video. She did say she was the better owner.
And I did say, like, you understand that if people didn't know we were married, that's going to come off very conflicting.
We've got some conflicting stuff going on in that clinic. So
The owners hate each other.
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
there is some stuff going on. So they'll soon figure out. But we've worked for clinics before where, like, if a patient was like, no, like, I want to work with Liz, I want to work with Gary, and it wasn't the owner's like, that's stupid. Like, no, like, you're not good enough for them to want to work with you. And like legit words came out of their mouth. And so us for working places that have done that, that was one of the biggest things. Like when we did open, specifically when Gary opened, like he tells all of our staff, like, I want patients to come and say, I want to see Logan. I want to see Jordan. I want to see Ben. I want to see Mackenzie, Holly, Leanne. And each one of them is starting to make a name for themselves, and patients are starting to ask for them. And it's pretty cool to see, because then you can start to see, especially like when we hired Logan, hadn't even passed his boards yet. When we hired Jordan, she just graduated, hadn't passed her boards yet. So like we hired, first time PTs. And so
I'll take one of those.
seeing them come into their own and build their confidence, especially when patients are starting to ask for them, it's pretty cool to see.
That's
It's,
awesome.
and they deserve it too. Like they deserve it 100%. So it's really cool to see their hard work start to pay off.
Because at the end of the day, like when you go and get your PT degree, it's a doctorate. I mean, I have a doctorate of physical therapy. It should carry a little weight. Again, I don't want to act like that, but I want it to be a profession for these people. I don't want it to be a job. Yeah, I want people to seek out Logan, Ben, because they're the profession. And I think you asked when you came and videoed, and maybe a little bit how we opened up, and I forgot the one part. Like, I wanted to be the best in the Northland. I mean, if you don't open a business wanting to be a little bit of the who's who, then you probably
It's a chip on your shoulder.
You probably don't have the right mindset. If you don't want to go in like, oh, I want to be really good at what I do. Like, you want to go in with a little bit of confidence. Like, I'm going to be, when people need therapy, I want them to think a complete PT. And so I want that to transfer to my Logans, my Bens, my Mackenzies.
And I think that's what
Jordans.
draws it factor. Like when you want it factor, great people want to work for a great company. They want to work for a great leader. To where it's, when you have that chip on your shoulder, like I have never been somebody, I'm never out to play for second.
Mm-hmm.
Never once even thought about it. Like I am there to win at anything that I do. And it's like that winning mentality, when you have that and you have that focus and drive, it lures the same kind of people. Because those kind of people, if you put them at a table, they don't want to work for a second place player.
Yeah.
To where that's why you guys draw the people that you do, is because you want something bigger. You have that vision. And like I talk about all the time, that vision is what scales companies. When you have that vision in front of people of what a company's supposed to look like, they don't have to believe it. They just have to believe that you believe it. And if they truly believe that you believe that you know where you're going, they will follow all day long.
For sure.
And it's hard sometimes as that person when you're there and you're putting it in, but it's also giving that trust to the people around you and letting them have, like, the glory's not all yours.
Mm-mm.
I tell people all the time, like, I joke that I don't have a job. Like, all these guys around me, and Lauren, I'm going to say girls and guys around me, they're the ones that make it happen every day, not me. Like, and they're the experts at what they do, and
Mm-hmm.
it's they get all that. And it's, yeah, I jump on videos, I'll do the taco reviews, I'll do all that other crap that goes online, but that's the stuff that scales us and pushes us to the next level. And I see that from the bigger picture, but it's like, that's my vision of where it goes.
Yeah.
And when you have that vision, you start pushing that stuff, that doesn't go unnoticed by those people. And if you give them an option of where to go without a ceiling, they will always be there. But the second, a lot of times you cap those guys and you put a ceiling on them, you lose them.
Yep.
that's the one thing that we just had a conversation with Logan about. Again, we've made mention in here that like in the PT world, there's not a whole lot of up, like kind of once you get to a point. And I think, and even Logan had said like initially, us being such a small business, and that's what we want to maintain. Like we're not trying to compete with the Cirques and Selects. Like that's not who we are. We're not corporate. Like we are complete PT. And Logan's like, for the longest time, I honestly thought we were just such a small business, and like that was stopping me. Like that was stopping me from reaching. And so our 3-year meeting that we just had with Logan, like Gary and I made the mention, like, I know that we're a small business. Like I get that, but like small businesses, you can do really big things in small businesses.
Your opportunities are 10 times the size.
Because like we are not stopping you from doing anything. If you want to try something in here, let's do it.
Yeah, so
Bring
we have
it.
an
Like
open
let's
mind,
do
man.
it.
Like, I am ready to open up the books and try something
Absolutely.
new. If you feel
Like
you need it.
and our biggest thing, like
corporate, they're not going to do that. You're going to bring an idea and like, well, that's not in line with how we do stuff. I'm like, well, we have an open mind here.
screw what's in line. Like let's do it. Let's try it. As long as we're out there helping people, let's try it. Why not?
And I think that's a lot of times too, thinking that I don't like the mentality that you can't take that small hometown feeling to a large scale. I think it can be done. Has to be done with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take those smaller hometown feel, like I run weekly coaching calls every single Wednesday, but it's to instill the same kind of mentality that I have across everyone that's within the company. And then outside people can pay to be in that group also. And it's when you start doing that and you start implementing that mentality across everyone. I'll use Andy Frisella, for instance, that owns First Form. How many people do you think he has working for him with S2 and First Form?
I think it's over 1,000.
So he has over 1,000 people, and that dude has grown a culture of 1,000+ people that is unmatched. So it can be done. And I don't like to ever think of this spot of like, I don't want to be corporate, so that's why I don't want to go big.
You don't want to lose your values.
But it's like, now how do I take those values? Because my purpose in the world is if I can have 1,000 people that work for me, I can instill values like I have in those 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot more for society as a whole than whatever benefit I got from it.
I think it's so easy in today's world just to be swayed one way or another. And part of it is like, you just kind of have to stick to your guns. Like it's especially being a business owner, like you see this business doing this, you see that person doing that, you know what I mean? It's easy to be like, all right, like,
well,
I'm
they're
going to
doing
do this.
So we better do it.
And we've caught ourselves saying that, but it's something like, I honestly believe that you just have to stick to your guns and like these are my values. This is what I am doing. You can either get on board or you can go elsewhere.
But I like too, like when we sat down, one of the first things in our first meeting, you're like, this is what everyone else is doing. This is not what we want to do.
Right.
And it's like, I 100% agree with that. I'm the first person in the room to say, be different.
Yeah.
Go be as different as possible. And it's own your space. Too many people in today's world, and I'm going to say it, marketing as business owners, whatever it is, they're trying to own all the space.
Right.
If you want to go try to own all the space, you will fail all day long.
For sure.
That look at the people that truly, I don't care where you stand, go look at the people that really own their space. Well, they own their demographic better than anyone else. Those are the top players. So it's like, now look at that as your business. Who is your demographic? Who is that perfect client for you?
Mm-hmm.
How do you own all of them?
Right.
How do you be that poster person for all those people? Like one type of account that we cannot pick up that I hope somebody's watching on here that is an attorney or a lawyer. We can't pick up an attorney or a lawyer because they won't talk to us because of the way we dress. They talk to us like we're road trash beneath their feet. Every single one of them we've talked to. I'm not going to wear a suit just to go pick up an account.
Sounds hot.
It's like, it doesn't make sense to me that it is crazy that they look at us differently because of the way we dress.
Even like in today's world, like the younger generation lawyers and attorneys.
Still.
Just all of them. I have not.
All of them.
Well, I'm going to say all of them. Like we've talked to probably like 15 law firms.
Not one.
And it's every one of them has the same, because they're suited and we walk in all the time that I'm dressed the same way as someone that's sitting across from me. I'm in jeans, shorts, and tennis shoes, or jeans, boots, and a t-shirt. Like this is what I wear all the time. I'm not going to dress different to go get an account. Like, you're going to get 100% of who I am at any time of the day.
Yeah.
I tell people, you can call me 100% of the time. Like, if you catch me on a Friday, Saturday night, podcast night, I've had some drinks, I'll still take your call. Like, I don't know how useful
I
I'm
don't
going to
really
be.
know what I'm going to give you though.
But it's like, I don't agree with, like, if I don't get those accounts, I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't bother me that much. It's more of a loss for them, I feel like. So,
I definitely think Gary's better at that than I am.
What? Just not caring.
Lately, just like, because it's one of the, and at the end of the day, you guys know, owning a business, like, you're not for everybody. You know,
don't need to be.
If you think you are, you're not. You're an idiot.
Right.
as we went more
and maybe
towards,
I'm the idiot because
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just kind of like, like,
Sometimes you got to say goodbye to some patience because you're
Right.
just not a good fit. You're like, I'm not.
as we went to owning our lane, our business quadrupled like that. And I pay, and I've brought on a lot of like business mentors to help me like large scale business. And all of them have told me go more into my lane of like who we are. And they're like, you will start seeing traction like you've never seen. And as I've leaned more and more into it and gotten more and more edgy, it's like more and more people are like, oh, this guy's real.
yeah,
Like, I don't need to own all of it.
yeah,
And if somebody doesn't like me, don't use us.
yeah,
And it's like, I like that you guys are in athletic clothes, t-shirts. Like, Gary's got a big shoe collection. And
Gary's got a stupid streak.
so but I like the Hawaiian shirt Fridays. Like, people like that.
It is fun.
Oh,
You guys have clients now wearing Hawaiian
This year has
clothing.
been really fun. Like on Fridays, it's pretty fun to get in there and have everybody.
But I think that's a huge part of it, and just own that demographic that you want and that you align with, and just figure out how you can capture more of that. But how large is the shoe collection?
I don't know. It's not that as big as some people think. 100 or so.
And that's a lot of shoes.
I feel like it is.
Are we talking pairs or individual?
Like,
That's a lot of shoes, dude.
I feel like it could be bigger. Okay.
Oh, it certainly could be bigger.
oh, so
but-
guess what he's gonna start doing now? Get on the phone, scrolling.
I love
Hey.
AJ1s, man.
Happy Gary, happy,
Happy
life.
Gary, happy life.
They don't make a better shoe than AJ1s. So, man.
Hey, we know what to get them for Christmas.
You know?
Oh no, no. You do not buy Gary gifts. Every gift that I have ever bought him, he's taken back.
Oh, you can,
All of
Yeah.
them?
You
Can-
you
Can we have a side wager here?
You want me Jordan?
So I
We'll
bought
have
him.
a side wager
so
here. I'll
he-
bet you money I buy Gary a pair of shoes. He's
No,
going to
I'm
take
not
them back.
taking those back.
As long as they're the right size, he's going to take them back.
And they're not too loud. I'm not allowed. Well,
He hates neon.
Well,
I don't like.
I don't do
Yeah.
neon.
He does not
I
like.
feel like a guy over 22 should not wear neon. It's just a rule I have.
He has a
Really
pair
weird.
of.
And you're probably not gonna like this. I think cutoffs are not. At the age of 24, probably shouldn't have a cutoff.
I think it should
Unless-
be lower than
Unless
that.
you're working outside. If you're outside on the farm, like you're legit in the middle of nowhere, cutoffs are allowed. But like an actual cutoff, you thinking younger than 24?
I think so.
Okay,
He's-
then you and me, Ricky, are right on line.
I totally agree.
I ditched the cutoffs at about
Last
But
year.
I can do a bro tank though. I can do a bro tank during the
They're just
summer.
more sophisticated.
Yes,
they have the
exactly.
seam
Just-
on the side.
exactly.
See, I
Because it
ditched the
doesn't
bro
like the
tanks about
jagged-
like 27
I'll rock a bro tank.
and
Like, just a cutoff,
about
like-
22. When I graduated college, the cutoffs went
That's
away.
so long ago now that you're 29.
You're pushing 40
Yeah,
store.
that 40.
And one of the big reasons the cutoffs went away is because they didn't fit anymore. I got a little on the heavy side.
It was a forced separation.
Yeah, it wasn't a choice. I didn't choose to ditch them. They forced themselves away.
I actually had to stop wearing them.
Yeah, I didn't look as good as I used to.
But that's the
But-
first thing I see when they walked in with their shoes. I saw Dre's and I saw Ricky's. I'm like, yep, I like these people.
Yeah, he didn't know it's my cowboy boots.
I say cowboy boots.
They're just boots.
Yeah.
Boots are boots, right?
My boots are nice. Nice boots.
Those are nice boots.
Go to Florida Georgia Line
Oh,
boots.
Florida Georgia Line.
All right. Towards the end of the podcast, we always ask people if you could go back. I'm going to say to your 20-year-old self, what would both of you guys? What would one thing you would tell yourself?
Don't get married. Oh, that was quick. My bad.
He had that one canned up and ready the whole time.
He's
He
like,
was like,
he goes, I listened to one podcast.
Yeah.
I heard that, and I said that I'm already
Yes,
ready.
he was just waiting for that.
He goes, I stand by it.
Also not providing a
I
second answer.
said what I said. I said
I will double down.
I am not
Back in
changing
the
that.
20s, you get to do.
If you could go back and tell yourself one thing you think would benefit yourself today, what would that be?
In my 20s,
Like
probably,
at 20 years old.
Yeah, 20 years old, it'd probably be to, we talked about, like, forget what other people think. It's just crazy when you're that young and how much you're so worried about what other people are thinking about you. And, like, not to get too deep, but, like, life's too short to really two shits about what someone else is thinking. Like you said, if they don't like you, you don't fit, guess what? Let's move on to the next person, because there are plenty of people out there that do like or think blinding like me, but we just get so fixated on, like, oh God, I'm worried about what they're thinking. I'm worried about what's going on. How's this going to make me look? But, like, why? Like, none of us are getting out of this alive. So
We all have the guarantee we'll all die.
yeah, exactly. It's one of the guarantees. And so why not just do what makes you happy, and then find some people along the ride that also make you happy, and do that instead of giving two shits about someone else. So
I like that. Don't give a shit what other people think.
Oh.
We're gonna make shirts on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna quote
Yeah.
Gary. It's gonna be in like
It
quotations.
should be a cutoff too.
It should be a cutoff. I'm gonna make cutoffs. I'm gonna say, actually, Gary, you know my cutoff that you say you didn't like? I said, I don't give a shit what other people think.
I didn't throw it away. I actually still have it.
there is a saying out there that's pretty good that the guy we follow he's a fitness guy I went to junior college with, got big into fitness, and it's got a saying. It's like 18, you're worried about what people think. At 40, you realize that they weren't thinking about you at all. And 60, like, you realize that it didn't matter if they were thinking about you at all.
You're not quite there
It
yet.
really-
You're not at 40 yet.
Yeah,
You have a
you're-
couple more years to
I will
figure
say
that
what I
out.
have noticed now is like where you think people overthink things so much when it comes to like what you're doing every day. I'll tell you, when I do my Instagram stories driving into work, that was one of the hardest things I've probably ever done. Like, because I was so worried about what people think about me. When I first started doing those, I recorded probably about 30 to 40 of them in the morning. And you think that's exactly like
No, I believe you.
100%. Like,
I have this conversation all the time about people that post stuff. I'm like, how many times did they look at that and thought this was a good idea? Like,
Yeah.
obviously yours are good, but there's some people that post stuff. I'm like, you looked at that and thought that, that wasn't their first take or their second take or their third take.
but it's like, it's gotten so much easier, but it's something that when I started doing that, I'm like, I need to be in front of people more. I'm like, how do I get in front of people more? And I was like, that was something that I'm like, I knew that would be something that would help my business and like to grow. And then I was like, and it was like almost like a revelation. Like when I first started posting them, I was terrified. And I like kept going, and all of a sudden, like, I got this. I was like, why am I so worried about what everyone else thinks? I'm like, every single person I've ran into, they're like, oh, dude, I'm so jealous that you do. Like, I wish I could do that every morning. And Ricky was one of the people that, like, when he started, he just grabs the camera, just hits whatever, like, a natural at it. And he's been doing it since like 7th grade. But it was things like that once you start doing those, I'm like, why did I think so much? Like, I was worried about like people from high school, like what they would think.
Yeah.
I'm like, so and so follows me on here. I'm like, what would they think? I'm like, I
I would
haven't
say
talked to that person in
it
10
takes a
years.
huge level of confidence to do that, and it's not a confidence that I have.
No,
like, it's
no.
not a
If you want a pretty big truth bomb, like what you're doing for us in the marketing,
very out of my
scares the
comfort
shit out of
zone.
us. Like, we're still like, we're trying to talk ourselves down sometimes. Like, are we doing it right? Like, my brothers, I've never really listened to many podcasts. So I texted my brothers this morning. I'm like, guess what? 2 people are going to be on a podcast, because I always joke about them because they're listening to podcasts, and I'm not a podcast guy. I listen to Tyler's a little bit, started kind of dabbling in there, but like, you might have looked back at our socials, my Instagram, we had 2 photos in the last 5 years.
But
Yep.
then we
So
couldn't
now- so
figure
now
out
we
how
have
to post.
Yeah.
Hey, one of them was
So-
you golfing,
yeah.
which is a plus. I love
Yeah.
the golf.
So now there was, we got a sponsorship.
Oh yeah.
But like when we posted 2 of them, I'm like, I talked to my brothers today. I'm like, well, I'm already freaking out because I'm on a podcast tonight and we posted twice, and I'm worried that we're posting too much already. Like, and so again, if I'm being truthful, I'm like, this space with you guys coming on has me out of comfort a little bit. But
I love to put people in an uncomfortable spot all the time. I have become so alive living in the uncomfortable position all the time. But it's like in an uncomfortable position is where you find growth.
Yeah.
Like that's where complete PT came from. That was an uncomfortable move. Like
Real uncomfortable.
so you look at like
but my space is like, if someone comes into me and like a patient has an ailment, and I hate to say that we sell them, but we have to sell them on our business. We have to sell them that I know what I'm talking about. And so to say I'm not in sales is a lie, because as a PT, when they come in, I am selling them from the minute they walk in our door. Atmosphere, the knowledge, the compassion I'm going to give them. And so doing that on a larger scale, obviously was like, I'm so used to, and like I told you, the whole farm mentality. Like I grew up on a farm where I did some work, and that work was just seen by people. Like I didn't go out and show it to them because they drove by and they saw it, like I didn't go, hey, come look at this. And so with the social media space, like it's got me way out of my comfort zone, because it's like, all right, look at us. And I'm always worried that we're doing too much. But then I look back, I'm like, wait a minute, we have a good thing here. Yeah. Why not?
If you believe in your product, you believe in your service,
why
people
not?
should know about it. Like
so
I look at it as
that's what I'm switching my mindset around. Like we have a good call. I'm very proud of what we've done at Complete PT. Why not let more people see it?
Well, it's a disservice to not have more people see it.
If you believe you have the best product of what you do, like I think it would be, once again, it's a disservice if people don't know about us and the options that we offer someone. So they should just blindly go end up finding another marketing company or something like that gives them a poor service, and they end up with a bad taste in their mouth about marketing. I sat on that side of the table.
Yeah.
I did that shit. And it's like, that's why I started a marketing company, was for that reason. To where it's like, put out there, and the companies we work with, like there's companies I don't take on. If I don't believe that you're a winner in the space and you have the ability to scale and grow a company into something, we don't partner with them. And we're very selective on who we work with and what it looks like, but you have a great product, you have great people, sell on your people, let people know what you do, and know that you're great at it and what it looks like coming to you guys. The rest all pans out exactly the way it's supposed to.
Let's get back to Liz's 20-year-old. I want to hear what she has.
Hey, what do you got?
Something about tattoos? Sorry. Just checking. Spring break?
Like we just talked about comfort. Like you're in my space. I would say probably handling myself. Emotions. Carrie can attest. I can be a little bit of a
quick trigger.
Ruh-roh.
Her fuse is short. It can be 0 to 60.
It is pretty short. No. It is better. It is a little longer now that I'm 35.
She has a man.
I don't need no man. I would just say, again, as I kind of grew up a little bit of a hothead. I've got a pretty quick fuse. I was kind of one of those like, well, if you don't think what I do, screw you. And that's just the dumbest way to think. But I was young and dumb. We're all young and dumb.
Don't say all of us. But.
You're only 29, so you're for sure young and dumb still.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm old soul. I hang out with people that are 65 all the time.
You're hanging out with a 40-year-old here. Yeah. So
Gary and I are gonna be new pals, drink bourbon together.
Every time you watch me check my watch, I'm like, it is 9 o'clock.
Yeah, he's like, it's getting late.
It is time to go. Yeah. Well, it's like that. I was like, well.
Well, Gary's gone.
Yeah, so I would just definitely say Gary talks about it instead of reacting, acting. I feel like I'm much better at that now. Like if I have something that bothers me, whether it's between us, whether it's business, like I kind of give myself a day. Am I overreacting? Did I have a bad day? Is my fuse just kind of short right now? Or is it something that really did bother me for whatever reason? And then after that, kind of once I determine that, I'm able to either bring it to your attention or whatnot. Like, all right, this is kind of how I feel. Why am I feeling this way? I'm feeling this way for a reason, but why am I feeling this way right now? So I wish I had the ability to do that when I was younger, and I did not.
Self-inventory is huge.
So as I'm older.
Not a lot of people can do it.
After you start figuring out, like, one of the things I work on the most is actually controlling myself on the way I react and understanding myself.
Well, it's very hard.
It is, but it's like once you start understanding how you act and how your emotions control you, that great business leaders aren't controlled by emotion.
No, they can't.
And
that's where we balance each other out. Because obviously I am very but
it's like the best person is somebody that knows that they do it.
Yeah.
That's like, then you know what you need to fix. And it's like, then you start looking at yourself, like when those things happen, like I was somebody that I leaned on Madison in the early days. So I was like, I want to know right when you think something's wrong. And she would like tell me. And at that point, it like kind of irritated me. But then it was like, I got to take that inventory. And I got to start figuring out like, okay, what was triggering that? Like, how could I have done that differently? And realistically in life, just being proactive instead of reactive was a lot of the problem. That once I started being more proactive in my life as a whole, and that goes from fitness to relationships to work to all of it, all of a sudden those things, when they would happen, I was ready for them. To where I wasn't reacting via emotion. I was already being proactive in what I was doing, to where it makes the whole situation different.
Oh, for sure.
So,
And I feel like Gary's helped me with that. Like it's one of those, if I'm ever frustrated with something, or if like we ever have to have a conversation with somebody, like I'll run everything by Gary before, because I can definitely be an abrasive person, especially if it's one of those like emotions are high. Like what I say, it does not come off good. It comes off as, geez, you're a dick. And I know that. And so that's why I will take that back. All right, Gary, will you listen to what I'm saying? And how do I sound when I'm saying this? Because like I know what I want to say, but I kind of need to change up how I say it so people don't hate me right now.
100%. And that's just,
and that's something I have to do. I mean, to this every day, you know, if something like I know it's a weakness of mine. And so
those are the best things to have that you
Yeah.
can then work on. Because,
but one time I did tell Gary that he hurt my feelings, and he told me, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way.
Nice.
I'm sorry you took what I said the wrong way.
I'm going to use that one next time.
Yeah.
It doesn't work very well.
We'll wait till after camera. The other thing I said one time.
Yeah.
So. Or you're acting like.
Oh yeah, that was a pretty big.
All right. Any final thoughts? I feel like we hit my final question.
No, we just very appreciative.
We very much appreciate you guys coming
Thanks
on.
for the podcast, and I know we've only kind of just started this journey, but like we've talked about it, handwritten letters, stuff like that. You guys have been very attentive to reaching out to us, talking to us. Lauren's been great, like hey, feedback and stuff like that. And we just, when we were looking at some marketing and some whatever, it was just crazy how many times we got ghosted by people and they just wouldn't respond to us. And like it just blows my mind.
The communication level is
from a
terrible.
business owner, like how would they can just go silent on it? I'm like, well, and then they'll get back to me like, well, what do we want to do? I'm like, well, you're done. Like, oh, you lost me already. I'm like, it's not that hard to respond. Like, we all have phones around us. Like, if you don't want to be in business with us, I don't, like you said, I would like you to if we thought we was a good fit, but if we don't, just say it. I don't want to sit here and just wait for you. And so we've just been very appreciative, like the kind of the way you kind of run business here. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
we're just glad Ricky did the camera work.
Yeah.
Some of it.
They turned out really well.
Some of it.
I took really good
I saw
photos of
I
those
saw-
like pistons
I
and
saw-
stuff on
I
that
saw-
machine. So I'll send those to Gary.
I could definitely tell what
You
those
know
are.
the difference between
Yeah.
Ricky
I can
and
definitely
Dane's
tell which ones are
photos.
Ricky's.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a Dane photo. Great.
We're not gonna use
I'm
it
in
all.
it.
That one looks really good. That was the main photo.
Does that say an A on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
But-
for sure shot in automatic.
Hey, I'm out of automatic now.
He is.
Yeah, auto.
You've
I've
progressed very nicely. You went from JPEG to RAW. That was a big step.
I know what
Yeah.
that
That doesn't make
means.
that
I know.
even sound like English to me. so.
He had to explain that to me. He
Don't know
goes,
what
"Bro,
it
why are you always
means."
shooting JPEG?" I'm like, "What are you
I'll
talking
still
about?"
shoot in JPEG.
Still am. What do you do?
Yeah. Didn't
But-
know there's a difference, guys.
But once again, thank you guys very much for coming on. We highly appreciate it. We're super excited to be working with you guys. I think
Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
you have amazing business and everything about it. And I know there's nothing but growth coming in the future. So
Thank you.
that is going to sum up the M3 podcast. See you again next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.